What is going on, guys? My name is Alex, and this is the Equity Odyssey podcast. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Alexia Tuttle. And Alexia is a super interesting, super experienced, and very cool entrepreneur. She currently owns Tuttle Nutrition, Tuttle Equity, More Hydration, and sits on the board of a veteran nonprofit Cloud Dancer Scholarship. So, super excited to have you, and super excited for this conversation. So, starting
Yeah,
off,
thank you for having me. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. So starting off the Equity Odyssey, one thing that I really like to, or that really interests me is the backstory of, what made you you? How did you get here to be this person, sitting in front of me with all these skills and experiences, right? So could you give us kind of a quick backstory on yourself?
Trauma and jokes. No, I'm just kidding. I think really it's kind of funny to not cause this to be 5 hours. My family is actually from Greece, so I'm actually from originally from the Northeast, and I would say I think I'm the only one out of poverty in my family at this point. I just always felt different. Always felt like I never wanted to be a lifer at any of the jobs I had, and I do have a really bad rap for getting someone fired or someone quitting at every job I had as a younger person, like late teens and 20s. I think it's because I've always had this crazy drive and ambition, and like if as soon as I had to do their job too, I got really annoyed. I think I was one point I was like, yeah, maybe I need to be an entrepreneur because like this is just not for me. But yeah, I had kind of a rough childhood, to be honest. So I didn't have really much structure or discipline. And I think that's why when I moved out as a teen, I found bodybuilding, which gave me the structure and drive. And I really thrived in that. Like I loved staying at friends' houses when I was a kid because like they had rules. I'm like, this is great. Like, what do you want me to do? I was like, this is amazing. So there's probably some people pleasing in there, but we progress as humans. But yeah, so I found bodybuilding and I really got into nutrition. I was trying a bunch of different jobs, and really love nutrition, really love fitness. So that's kind of like my passion, right? I was actually in the process of becoming a cop at the time. Got pretty far in a couple of those processes, especially like New Jersey State at the time, which I really liked because they were military based and things like that. And the nutrition business took off because my husband is the one that started it. I became partner, and I started building up my clientele while fixing the business side of things, and it just kind of growing. It grew like 250% per year. I'm like, this is amazing. I really like business. Finished my degree in business. So I'm the only one in my family that has that. Uh, but I just don't know how to be bored, is what I tell people at this point, because as soon as I tried to reduce my clientele a few years back, I was like, I need to live life like normal humans. I was like, let me throw in ballroom dancing and learn Greek, and let me try this hobby. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just not meant to be this person. So I love to dive into things. I love having things be totally fun and different and exciting. And I think that's why entrepreneurship helped in that sense. But total nutrition has been like kind of my bread and butter, I would say, because that's been around for about a decade. It's very stable business. It's where we have our reputation. And I was like, Chris, I don't want to be in that's my husband. I don't want to be in a service-based business for the rest of my life. I'm like, how do you feel about me buying apartments? He's like, okay. He was a little hesitant, but he's like, okay, he's not one to hold me back. He's a really very good man. As long as I follow certain guidelines, like don't touch this savings account, make sure we save this much a month. I'm fine. I'm like, do you want to see our bank accounts? He's like, no. Okay, cool. So started doing that. And then we got contacted by a friend with the water hydration product more. And so that's kind of launching. So that's more his, nutrition's both of ours, total equity's kind of more me with buying apartments. But it's kind of just fun to diversify and build something and really kind of keep reputation and integrity in the forefront, which I feel like this industry is something you need to do, if that makes
100%.
sense.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's super
Yeah.
cool. The nutrition business, that's like coaching and consulting, or what is that specifically?
Yes. So I don't really like I've never trained people in the gym. That's never really been my thing. Like I create programs if needed. I used to have clients join me in the gym if they need it, but all nutrition, all worldwide, clients all over the world, it's all through email. So it's very just one-on-one. And so there's one point where we weren't doing anything besides answering emails all day long. And we're like, we teach fitness and nutrition, right? Why aren't we moving? Like the sedentary lifestyle is just not working. So we would have to like take walk breaks and gym breaks and things like
hmm
that. But yeah, it's always been all online. And that's it.
Awesome, awesome. I, you want to hear something kind of weird?
Do it.
I don't know, maybe you'll freak out, maybe not, but nutritionist. My probably 90% of my meals, same meal, kind of for simplicity and cost and macro and stuff, is literally just chicken, cabbage, maybe some carrots.
So you're
Every
on that bodybuilder diet, man.
kinda, yeah, yeah. It's not
Well, I
like
mean, like some people can get away with that. If you have a gut that can deal with that, sure. But like my clients that do that, if you create issues with your gut by not
mhm,
having that diversity. So I
yeah,
mean, as long as you're kind of having some color, maybe at least once in a while, and some good nutrients, I think you'll be okay. But like usually females can't get away with that as much as men because we're high anxious creatures. But, and just the gut is just like our personality at this
yeah.
point in time.
Yeah, and it's not like a hard and fast rule, like every single meal, no matter what. It's more like this is what I eat in general. I still go out to eat with my family and
Yeah.
whatever, that sort of
One of
thing.
my
But
buddies is doing the carnivore diet. He gets pretty shredded, but I was like, can I just see your blood work? Like, I just want to see it. I want you to see it when you're off the carnivore for like 8 weeks, then you get your blood work done. And I want to see you right when you're done with the carnivore thing. Cause he does it in like, I don't know, spurts, I guess. And I just want to see your blood. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, no, I need to see
just
it.
curious, yeah. No, that's
But I mean,
super
if it
cool.
works for you, sure. I mean, I've never been a nutritionist that's like, this way is the only way. Just like, all right. Like someone will come to me taking a probiotic that I know is shit. And I'm like, do you believe it works? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, keep taking it because I'm like, placebo effect is real sometimes. Like, okay, cool. Like that works. If it's something that's wasted your money, I'm probably going to tell you like a big
Right,
waste. But if
right.
it's something minuscule, I'm like, okay, if you really believe it works, sure. But
Yep. Yeah, totally. That's awesome. Well, super cool. Okay, so nutrition business, then more hydration, then kind of got into apartments. What sparked the interest in apartment buildings?
oh God, it's kind of funny. I'm very quick to jump into things, and when I do, it's 2 feet, and that's it. When I make a decision, I make a
Hmm.
decision. Moving to Texas, moved here. 8 months later, was here. Everything was done. So yeah, I think it was one day I was just like, I always was into real estate, but I just didn't want to like start with duplexes and things like that, which I probably should have, to be honest. But I mean, at this point, I think I was 31. So I was like, I want to be able to retire by 40.
Hmm.
And the way I want to do that is this. So honestly, I just listened to a couple podcasts, and I'm not a big podcast person that listens to them all the time. I listen to murder. That's the only basic bitch thing I do. Mind you, we'll continue. While I work, if I'm answering your email, it's probably listening to murder on the side. but but I was like, always interested in real estate. Knew that's the way to wealth to an extent. It survives all the downturns if you play your cards right. And I knew I wanted to start big, right? So I decided to do it. Got the okay from him. Was at a conference a week later.
Nice.
I think I was one of three females at that conference because apparently that's why people remember me, by the way. If you're a female, you're probably going to get remembered at these conferences. There's not many of us if you're at certain ones. But yeah, no, I was like, okay, I need to start big. I need to kind of jump from there. But the first year I did lose a good chunk of money by trusting, not verifying the right people, not listening to my gut. My gut is pretty good. But now I have a very good PI, ex-FBI agent, really awesome.
Awesome.
I learned from that mistake. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was like, I knew this is the way. Like, I just need to put full effort into it. If I don't quit, then I'll succeed at it. So even when I was just like, this is stupid, things are not going my way, because I started at probably the roughest time you can start. It's a pro and con depending on how you look at it. A pro in a sense, I'm learning a lot from a downturn,
Hmm.
but a con that the opportunities aren't as abundant and greed is rampant with people in crises. So that's kind of the pro and con of that. But I am happy I still did it and I still pushed through, to be honest, because right now I know that me and my Chris's reputation is really good from our past businesses, or how we interact with people. I try to provide value with people. I try to connect people as much as possible. And I'm trying to find that good people doing good things. And I feel like if we kind of keep doing things together, we can kind of slowly just make sure no one gets in with the
Hmm.
bad, I
Yeah,
guess you could say.
totally. I'm super, super, super impressed by your ability to like, have some sort of spark of interest and then go to a conference 2 days later and then like, like that's
Yeah,
awesome.
people say I'm nuts. I get told I'm interesting a lot. I get told I don't like. blank space. That is very true. I will talk your ear off if you let me. That's why I was like, you're giving me what? How many minutes on this podcast, Alex? I don't know if that's going to be enough. Uh, but yeah, no, I think I've embraced my weirdness, and I'm completely myself. And it's funny because I didn't originally think I'd be really good at investor relations. Like I really do love operations. Don't get me wrong. I know how to run a team. I know how to get shit done. That's like where my fun is, getting things done. But investor relations just happened to happen because again, that's where you can get into deals as a newbie, right? One, two, uh, I'm good with people. So, but what I am is like, I'm just going to be like, hey, this is everything. This is how much I make. This is how much you're going to make. I'm not going to hide anything. I'm probably going to make a "that's what she said" joke. I'm probably going to be inappropriate at some point because that's just who I am. But I don't know. I just don't pretend to be anybody I'm not, and hope for the best and word of mouth as it builds. Just like the nutrition business, it built with word of mouth. It didn't have to do much marketing, and that's what I'm hoping it builds from here with this business. You know.
I can see that being effective in the investor relationship. Like a "that's what she said" joke. It's like how is
Oh my
someone who,
God, yeah.
yeah, like it just seems like someone who's not trying to like be slimy and hide when they're making "that's what she said" jokes. Like,
But it can come off wrong, I think, depending. Like I said certain jokes. I'm like, oh, I just did that shit. I'm like, because my husband, I was like, oh, they asked me to speak on stage. I called him, and he was like, don't make a joke. I'm like, but are you sure? I was just like, but I really want to, and I feel like I should. Like quick little backstory. So the nonprofit, I'm on the board of the Ashton Johnson Memorial Clout Dancer Scholarship. I didn't have you say the whole thing because it's kind of long. We help veterans who are pursuing careers in aviation. We just actually had our big gala, but we had a crawfish cookout earlier this year, and everybody had the same shirts. But they're like, "Hey, Alexi, we got you a custom one." I was like, oh, "What's that?" It was a picture of a crawfish that's saying, "Ain't gonna suck itself," which is my humor. And I was like, "This is amazing." And my husband's like, "You probably shouldn't wear that. I don't think you'll get investors that way." I'm like, okay, we'll see. I got two.
yeah,
I was just like, yeah, hell yeah.
yeah,
Just kind of funny if you're yourself.
yeah. Just being yourself probably attracts a certain section of people. Maybe repels some, but it probably
I
overall.
mean, I may hold back a little bit if they're like, because I've always had a respect for elderly too, but some of them, if they're like a vet, they'll get my humor. If it's somebody that's a little bit more conservative and such, I might not make all the jokes, but I'll be a bit more respectful, but I'll still be myself, and but maybe I'll get a dad joke or two. I don't know. Maybe I'll be a little
Sure,
bit more low key.
sure.
Um, yeah, knowing your people, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And did I understand you correctly? Was that a joke too, or are you talking about hiring a PI for who you're
No, I
investing
have.
with? Okay, that's
I
that's
have.
cool.
Well,
I think
because I made some mistakes in the beginning. I lost a good chunk, trust not verifying. So like based off people, okay, I have two rules when I do deals with people to back this up. One, you can't need the money from the deal. Greedy decisions are made. This is a long haul game. That's just what it is. Two, whoever I agree to partner with, GP with, they must, whatever we promise the investors is what the investors get. Now, if that means we don't get our cut, so be it. The reputation's more than one deal. So
hmm
those are kind of like my two things. Now, I, of course, was really excited. I mean, again, I usually make logical decisions, but emotional decisions kind of in this game are there because you're excited. You found a deal. It actually works. It actually pencils. Oh my God, this is great. Let's move forward. You're forgetting that you're married to these people you're doing these deals with for a bit. And if you had any sort of gut feeling, I would run a background check, do something. I mean, you're not going to get everything, but even if I just did the basics of, hey, these are his properties, can you go through this with me? And these are his LLCs, and this is his name. I would have found so much information right off the rip, right? He was full of shit. So, but yeah, so I have this ex FBI agent that I run by. I'm doing this Austin development deal, which is different than my multifamily, but kind of interesting. And there's a developer, and he has a great reputation and everything, but just for due diligence for investors' sake, I did have the guy look into him. I actually didn't have any bad feeling. I just knew that I should get it done for, crossing all T's,
hmm
dotting all I's. And it's funny, the guy is from Austin, the FBI agent or the X one. And he's like, oh, we have a mutual Facebook friend. This is probably going to be a fine guy. I was like, okay, good. He's like, because he's like, I'm not friends with anyone on Facebook I don't know and or don't doesn't check off. But he's very thorough. He's awesome. And I don't know. I do think it's just an extra risk mitigation that I
Right,
feel like you should do because I mean, it's my friend's money. It's my old client's money. It's like people, like I'm
right.
not doing anything anymore. Like I remember I was in a deal, two deals about 200 units tops or total. And I pulled out last second, pulled my investors out because I was just like, there's something about this. I was like, let me pull back the layers. I went through it. I was like, doesn't make sense. I was like, I'm done. And I lost money because he was secretly signing away our earnest money that he didn't have any in the deal. And we didn't know that. And I was like, great, love that for me. So I lost all of that. So um, just got to be careful. And so I
Yeah.
learned that first year pretty well. And now I know what to do
Gotcha.
for the most part.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's super powerful and important too, because you're, the people are trusting you essentially, and you're putting your trust in somebody else. So making sure to do your due diligence on that person, as much or more
Yeah,
probably than the property itself, I think that's super important.
correct. Especially people that now have started funds or fund of funds. It's like you're actually doing the due diligence on the people,
Yeah,
not so much the deal at this point. But
totally.
yeah, it definitely reminded me about, not everybody has your integrity, not everybody has the way you look at things. And yeah, you can get along with someone, but you really don't know what's happening in someone's life or, like something like that. So I think it's really good to kind of, if you're gonna partner with someone, really get to know them. Like I'm not even afraid to be like, hey, this is my bank account. This is what I'm doing. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, these are my numbers, but you know what I mean? Like, this is how I'm doing financially. This is my goals. Are we aligned? Do we have the same values? All right, cool. Now, how do you approach operations? That's great. Like, I'm also like kind of anti slumlord.
Hmm.
It's like you can run an apartment lean, but you don't have to be a dick,
Yep.
right? So like, so there's a lot of those where they'll cut corners a little bit too much to the point where it's like now you're just making things worse. Um, and I had one of those issues too. Where I was trying to buy this property from someone, and I could just tell all the corners he was cutting. Man, it was tough.
Yeah,
A lot of lies.
those can be tough. And are you comfortable, or maybe you already kind of said the extent of it? Typically, we like to talk about failures, and it sounds like you had an incident with
Oh yeah,
in your
it's all
first
so much
year.
fun.
He was signing off the earnest money, or was there additional
Yeah, so
details there?
he was doing the negotiations by himself, and of course, like so you know how when you have that someone signing, he's signing his name because you're not
Hmm.
starting the LLC yet, and he's not signing for the LLC yet. We did the day before we started the LLC, then he signed for us, and it was like boom. And I just didn't know any better. I was newer, right? And most of the people on the team were kind of newer. We were business owners, except for two of them. But yeah, somewhat newer. And the two that weren't business owners are the two that owed us all money. And one of them blocked me on everything. I did put his name on something, but he like blocked me on everything. Even though we had an agreement, we're all liable for the same amount.
Hmm.
But again, because we didn't have a legal document, I mean, I had it in an email, and one of them agreed to a payment plan. So the one that signed our money away, but the other one, not a fan. Um, yeah. So you have to, if you're gonna say you're gonna do something, do it. That's just my thing. I get that sometimes things are hard, so get on a payment plan, make it right. Like, don't just be like, oh, screw that, bye. Like, you know what I mean? But regardless, that was a big failure because again, I like everything to reconcile. So I was kind of going through it and like just had a really bad gut feeling, and I trusted people for what they said that their expertise is in, and not knowing any better. So that was my first issue. The second deal, there's two failures. Technically not a failure because I'm getting him to buy us out, but I got into a deal. It's only a 20 unit though, that was local with a friend, my friend who was actually a really close friend now, Cole, because we got screwed over by the same guy, and this guy that had the experience. And they had a promissory note, and for like 50K. I'm gonna call him Cole because that's his name. Cole gave to this guy, and he never paid him back by the time it was done. And we were already kind of deep in this deal. We weren't closed yet, and I had the feeling, so I was like, hey, I have a very strong voice. Cole does not. He's a very good man, Marine, respectful man. We have a good trust with each other at this point too. Even at that point, we did, and we're like, there's something going on with this guy. He's like, I can tell that there's something fishy because he wouldn't do the right financing that made sense. He was going around the bit to like this guy that doesn't require background checks. I'm like, that's a little weird. I like to do pre-financials, and he wasn't sending me everything, even though I was asking. And I was like, hey, I'm not putting any money in this deal. I just want you guys to know I'll do sweat equity, but I'm not putting any of my money. I'm not putting any of my investors because I wasn't doing it. The only reason why I stayed in that deal is for Cole because Cole had the risk capital in it. So not only did he have that promissory note with him, he put a 40K risk capital into the deal. So I was like, all right, Cole, like, so it's 2 against 1 at this point. Let's do it, whatever. I like signed up for headaches. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
like, like, but I guess, follow a learning process. I was supposed to be asset manager, and all these things. And, we had our plan right off the rip. He was kind of going around our backs and making decisions without us knowing. Okay, that's weird. I asked for post-close. I asked for financials. I was like, I need the financials to reconcile. I want everything to equal. Let me see the statements. I need your bank statements because that's what you paid out of. I also need all the invoices. So he actually made an Excel with all his stuff. And I wanted to use a certain law firm, MW Law. They are awesome. They're in Dallas. And he owed them money and he didn't want to use them. I didn't realize that till later. He put his old invoice that he owed them on our property. And still to this day, it's not the property paid for it because he was supposed to put 15K in the deal on top of whatever. And he said, oh, no, I did. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, all this does not equal. So I was like, get me your bank statements. He's making no money off this LLC. But come to find out, he has a bunch of LLCs. The FBI guy kind of told me, like, basically bankrupts them, starts another, gets money from his wife's money. I guess she kind of has money, so he gets money from her. Turns out, I think they're living in a house under a construction loan. All these things. And then I had people calling me, this guy that lends out millions at a dime that people know. I'm not going to mention names. Hey, what's going on with this guy? I was like, figure it out. Hire a lawyer. Like, I was just like, he's like, oh, I'm going to put liens on his property. So he has 2 liens on his properties. Had a developer call me. Oh, we had to enact the bad actor clause on him for 300K just to get him out. It's like, oh, perfect. Love this for me. And then I just became friends with everybody because I'm like, hey, cool, mutual enemy. But yeah, no, it was just I just was finding out all this stuff. I'm like, thank God I didn't put any money in it. But we're still to this day, it took us, he was dragging the process. I spent over 20K in legal fees. And we got the first pay. He finally signed it, I would say like a couple of months ago. It's been over 8 months of just going back and forth, waiting for him. Because again, he's supposed to pay us back, but it's fine. But now that we have it signed, and if I have to go after him legally, he is liable for the legal fees. So I think he has till January to pay us back now.
Oh wow, that's quite
Yeah.
quite an event then. So in terms of just straight lessons learned, is it investigate people more or things in writing,
Yeah.
or
I mean,
what would you
again, the
say?
deal, if you know how to, like, I spent months underwriting deals. If you know how to underwrite deals, you know what a good deal. Don't make the deal work. We could talk about that all day long. You
Yeah.
can easily make a deal work if you really want it to work. We
Yep.
know this. People, I think, is where the faults lie. Because again, even if you actually like the people, even if it works, maybe they're not pulling their weight for a few months. You actually have to understand a person. What if they're going through a rougher time? Hey, talk to that person. I will pick up my slack. I'll pick up the slack for you during this time. Like, just communicate to you. That's just a people business. You need to learn how to communicate, learn how to work with them. So it's more than just trusting them and that they're a good person. That's one. But 2, learning how to work with someone and how they work. Can you still hear me? Because you're spotty.
Gotcha. Yep. I can hear you well.
Okay. But yeah, people business. I mean, that's how it is. And so I did start commercial monthly meetups locally. I did stop them because I want to get a better co-host in a better location. So I might restart those just because I did meet some good people. And then I actually hired a cop from the city to make sure that guy didn't show up
Oh,
because I didn't want people doing business with him. And he showed up once towards the beginning of like when everything was happening. And I was just like, yeah, never again is he going to show up. I was like, I don't want anybody associated doing business with this man. And I also have friends at the city too, because I want more people, more good people buying. If I can't buy, because again, I'm only a few years into this, if I can't buy, I will make sure someone good does, because we need less of those people buying. You know what I'm saying? He got the investor for that 20-unit deal too. And it's just a random guy that doesn't even know anything about what this guy's doing. So I kind of feel bad with people that trust blindly like that.
yeah.
But it's a cultural thing with him too. So
Gotcha. Yeah, that's certainly tough, and those are bad situations when people get involved in. So
yeah, it's
that
still
is really
worth it.
unfortunate. Yeah, yeah,
I
totally.
mean, yeah, I have the war stories, but I think it's still worth it once you get your footing. I mean, it's just a lot to make sure that you know, because you have to know everything, right, in this industry, and then you kind of focus on the stuff that you focus on, and the rest you trust to your team. So I think it's like as soon as you kind of get your footing and basic understanding of things, and then also do your due diligence on the people you're working with, then you can have a better foot forward.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to scare anyone away from not taking action. I think instead of saying, hey, be careful, I'd rather say
Yeah,
continue to move forward, but also make sure to do your due diligence, right? So,
correct. And
yeah,
I'm one to always take action too. And I'm just like, well, that's cool. Moving forward.
yeah, yeah. I'd lean the same direction. I just kind of sometimes to a fault, just kind of fall on my face a lot. So, which is
Same.
something I actually don't mind about myself. But, um, what is your guys' business look like currently? Are you looking for deals or looking for investors or what do you got going on right now?
It's weird. Now I have more deals than I have investors. So there's that. So I'm kind of cleaning up my efficiencies. I onboarded a VA. I just want to make sure things are very good. Like my CRM, I'm cleaning it up. I use Smart Syndicator by Brandon Wong. It's kind of like Go High Level, but for syndicators.
Mm,
And that's really been helpful for me because of course the multiple businesses I tag people and I have to organize it all. But I also yeah, I have too many deals. Like I got invited to do another deal in Sherman, but like Sherman, Texas. And for me, it's like I want a little bit of operation control no matter what I do because my investors want that. But like, do I want to be a part? I just rose, and that's right before an election, and I have a development deal going on. Do I want to be a part of all these deals in a minuscule way? Not really. If I can't, like, that's an $8 million raise. If I can't raise at least 1 million, I don't think I'll do it. I'm still kind of looking at my network, but at this point, I think right now it's more just picking and choosing the projects, making sure my investors are happy, and kind of building up that word of mouth and just making sure I have
hmm
those conversations. I would love more investors, but I think we all do. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what's needed. But I think riding the wave of growth is better than just forcing it too fast. Like especially with the nutrition business, I just rode the wave versus pushing it, which I feel like that's where a lot of mistakes are happening. So I'm okay with it. Like, yeah, would I love to be on that next deal for sure? But if I can't, I can't. So I actually did tell some people about it and introduce people like if you want everyone to win, eventually it comes back to you at a certain sense too. So I knew somebody that wants to get into deals. He's new. I'm like, can you raise some funds here? Go talk to them. So that's kind of my thing. But yeah, I have a lot of deals randomly just coming my way now, which is a really good feeling because usually that's not the case. But the only way I got them done recently is a seller financing and things like that.
hmm
But I think come quarter 1, we'll see a lot more happening in terms of everybody being able to find some deals at this
Sure,
point.
sure, sure. In terms of finding investors, it sounds like you've had some success, networking, word of mouth. Are those kind of your main two channels, or how do you typically go about if you were looking to get more investors?
I mean, right. And now a biggest chunk is actually from my nutrition business. My husband and I have a really good reputation, so I just
hmm
leverage that. Tell them what we're doing. A lot of people still think I'm doing a REIT or something. I'm not. So it's kind of funny. So I think when I talk to them one on one, that's how I think I close because I make sure I know I understand them. I make sure I understand what they're looking for. I also make sure that they're diversified. I'm not gonna be like, hey, I'm not gonna take all of your money into real estate. Like, do you have whole life? Do you have term? Do you have this or that? I do believe in certain aspects. I don't really trust the government. So, my IRAs and real estate. But again, I'm not gonna be like, you can't do this, you can't do that. But I do make sure they're diversified. I make sure I learn everybody. And then if they tell a friend, that's awesome. So it's usually from my specific network. I did find random people at conferences that just like we got along, so they're like, hey, we should talk. I'm like, cool. Also from the nonprofit world, I've met some people that were my investors, but really just putting myself out there. I go to a lot of like I'm a member of the Fort Worth Club, which is kind of just like I do business meetings there, meet people that are doing business in the Fort Worth scene. I've gotten a couple people from that. But yeah, I think it's funny because I thought I was doing enough for my investors, but I realized you need to constantly have those conversations because once you have a deal in place, they're going to still want multiple conversations before they commit, unless they just know you, like know you. I had one of my investors actually this past deal. He's been our buddy and our client for many, many years, and he's not even a fan of real estate. He's like, all right, I'll put some money in it. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, okay, he's because it's like he trusts me versus. But I,
Right.
I did explain everything to him. He's like, okay, he did the minimum investment, which I recommended, especially because he's newer. I was like, just do the minimum, see how it does, like see what you like about it, and then let me know your questions, and I'll keep you updated as we go. And so, just dipping his toes in it in a way, which a lot of mine are newer, so I have more in depth conversations about how it works.
Right. Totally, totally. Very cool. Is there someone in the space that you maybe look up to or coached by or mentored by?
Uh, I wouldn't, not really, weirdly. I would say there's multiple people that, um, to an extent, have shaped my path in a way. Like I really like John Montero and his approach to things. Met him at a few things. He was actually one of the first people I met when I moved to Texas. Dustin Miles and Hayden, they do a really good job with Momentum Multifamily, the way they run things. And I sign up for everybody's thing, so I kind of get that. I'm not a big guru fan. That's a whole different conversation. Um, but there's certain things there's pros and cons to that as well. And then another one would be Ryan Byrne. Actually, has helped me with my connections a lot. He does investor relations as well, but his connections are good and we get along. Daniel Twito is the guy that I just him and Ryan and Tanga, Daniel and Tanga are partners, and we just all did a deal together. And I really, really respect how they work. I visited their other properties. I see how they are, and they don't care to be a big name, which I really like. Like there's a healthy ego on them, and they just want to do good work. And they have really a cool way of looking at things. So I'm not going to pretend I know everything. So I'm always just like, all right, let me just pay attention. Let me listen. Let me put in my 2 cents when I feel like I need to, and we'll kind of work as a team. But yeah, it's nice being part of a team that I do respect. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But I would say
Awesome.
that would probably be my main core group at the moment.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you had to give someone some advice for they're looking to do some syndication and what would be the first couple action steps? Do you go find a deal? Do you go find investors or what do you do first?
Honestly, learn how to underwrite.
Under.
I mean, I started with Michael Blanc's team and his model. I think as you branch out, you'll if you're an engineer, you'll make your own model. If you're not, you'll find someone that is. So oh Jason Williams has a really good underwriting model. I did his course too because he's really great. He's out of Wichita Falls with his wife Angel. Ironclad underwriting. So like I started with Michael Blanc's, not then with Jason's, and now I have a guy that does my underwriting. But basically, you start out, maybe read a book or two about how the process actually works. Get like don't listen to the fluff of things. If it's a guru's book, I think every book is great. You just have to kind of push away the fluff and the motivation. Yeah, if you need it, that's fine. But learn how to underwrite, learn how to understand the deal. I think that's your top priority. I use Marcus and Millichap, their stuff a lot because it's very in depth, and that's what I practiced on a lot. And then I knew, I built my rule of thumbs that way, and I was able to kind of really learn. I spent 8 months just underwriting. And I did start going out to local meetups to meet people. I think that's a really good thing because you'll meet people that want to help others as well, or need help in some way that maybe you can provide value to. I wouldn't just jump into the gurus. Um, I would wait a little bit. I jumped in. That's why I'm saying that. I would wait a little bit longer. Really learn yourself a bit more. Really kind of learn your community and see if you can get more help just by your community versus that. That's a big chunk of money to jump into. But yeah, underwriting I think was the top number one for me, and then the relationship building from there. If I had to do anything majorly different, I would keep a better CRM from the beginning, just a basic Excel sheet, where I met them, what they do, um, things like that, because otherwise I was like scrambling after like 6 months being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then even on the business cards, if you get them, right where you met them and the date. And then if it was like a um, one that was through your phone, a digital one, I would screenshot it and then make sure you do it when you get home. That's the thing I messed up on in the beginning is it's a people business. Remember these people. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
nothing worse than forgetting someone, I guess.
Totally. There was a meme I saw in like 2015. It's like the number one lie you tell to yourself. It's like, I don't need to write that down. I'll remember it. It's like, nope. Yeah, it's just,
I'm visual. I have to write everything down.
yeah.
So
And
bad.
especially as you get like 50, 100 plus relationships and it goes over the span of months, it's like you need to definitely write that
Yeah,
down.
that's
So,
why I graduated from that Excel to the CRM that I'm using now. It's a little bit more pricey, but it really does a good job. I think Brandon did a really good job on that. Um, but like, as soon as you kind of build it up, then, okay, what's the next
hmm,
efficient software that I need, right?
right.
Start basic though. You don't need everything. And then you just kind of learn as you go. But
Yeah, totally.
that's kind of how I did. I paid attention.
I love it. Yeah, my first CRM was Excel as well. It works great, but eventually just upgrade.
Yeah,
But very good, very good.
agreed.
Um, What is one key takeaway that you hope that listeners walk away with after listening to this podcast?
Wow, that chick's nuts. No, I would say honestly, just keep showing up. Because I mean, some days really suck. I think that's everything in entrepreneurship, right?
Hmm.
Uh, some days really suck. I've had days where I'm just like, I don't know shit. I've been in the nutrition industry for 10 years, and I feel like I know less now than I did 10 years ago. Know what you don't know, be humble, but keep learning. I think those are my main things. And then also just don't quit. I mean, I think it's worth it if you just keep going. But I think most people will be like, wow, I need a PI. I think that's probably what they're going to take away from this one, which
It's
I
a
will
good
also
takeaway.
agree with.
Yeah,
I would suggest you do your due diligence on people for sure.
yep, 100%.
Especially GPs you're going to be partnering with. Don't just trust and everything. Go verify. Go to their properties. Go talk to their property managers if you can. Like do your due diligence. Don't just be like, oh, they seem like a good person.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. No, those are great takeaways. Is there one piece of advice that you can think of over your career that has been particularly helpful to you?
Oh, I think it was just kind of learning how to be myself, to be honest. Um, I know that's a weird one, but like I think that was my biggest moment is that I've always felt different, always felt like an oddball. And I think as soon as I embraced it, everything just got better. And, I was able to kind of feel like I could be myself and shit still happens and I still
Hmm.
get things done. Like, I know, I just love that part of myself. And then once you're yourself, you really find people you resonate with. And I feel like life is just more fun and you can find your people and find the people that have those values that you appreciate. So yeah, being myself is a big one and learning how to accept that.
Awesome. No, that's powerful. I love it. And
I don't really like cliche stuff too much, like, but sometimes it's true. I
right.
mean, not to bring everything back to nutrition, but the three basic is sleep, movement, and stress management. As soon as you have those, it's like
Yep.
founding blocks, right?
Yep. Yep. The foundation of everything, right? Awesome. Awesome. Where can people find out more about you? Where do you want people to go after listening to this?
Yeah, because I have so many things, I had to create a landing page, so tuttlebrands.com, and that's where you'll find everything. But I'm active kind of on Facebook and Instagram at Alexia Tuttle one because I'm boring as shit. And yeah, that's pretty much Alexia Tuttle on everything. But tuttlebrands.com, you can find all my websites too, or tuttleequity.com, tuttlenutrition.com. Yeah, pretty pretty standard.
Cool. 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 I love it.
I'm
And
Googleable.
that's perfect. And before we sign off here, is there anything you wish I would have asked that I didn't?
No, I was gonna make it a joke, but
That would be totally out
I'm
of
getting away
character
from
for
it.
you.
Yeah, no, no. I think it's good. I think it's like we could talk over any of these topics for a while, but I think this is good enough for today.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, it was super awesome having you on. Your ability to just take action is super impressive, and share your
Yeah.
mistakes and vulnerability. That's totally awesome as well. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, same. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, you bet. All right, you guys, signing off.